Well, hello and welcome back to Macabre and Company. I'm Erica.
And I'm George, and welcome, yes, back to another episode where we're going to dive into something grim, gruesome, spooky, paranormal, or maybe just a bit weird, like us.
Yes, only I know because I'm telling the story today. And I told George that I was researching something and I have pivoted to something different because what we were discussing, I need to do further research. Like, I'm not ready to come on yet and talk about it.
I'm so
Um,
excited, though. I'm excited for like a nice surprise.
yes. Here we go. Let's just get right into it. So, um, you and I are both entertainment people. We're theater people. I'm sure a lot of our followers and listeners are theater people. And if not, you're all ghost people. So today we are going to talk about haunted theaters and some theatrical superstitions.
Ooh, I love this.
Yes, me too. I had so much fun researching this. I will preface this by saying that literally every theater seems haunted. So if you're like in any city in the world, if you have a local theater, it's probably haunted and people have probably seen some things. So I am absolutely not talking about an exhaustive list of every haunted theater. I've just tried to find like some good ones from all over the world with some good stories. So if you are shouting at your phone at the end of this episode because I missed your favorite theater, let us know in the comments. We can do another one of this. We could literally do like 20 of these episodes because there's so many ghosts in so many theaters.
I'm so excited to hear about theater ghosts.
I can't wait to see some theater ghosts. I'm gonna like go on a tour, I reckon. So we're gonna start off with one that is close to home for me. There is a ghost in the Princess Theatre in Melbourne, and it is probably Melbourne's best known ghost. It was an Italian born opera singer named Anna. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to say this. Anatoly Baker, which is not as dramatic as I thought it was going to be, but it was just the Anatoly that threw me off. His stage name was Federici. Yes,
Ooh.
Federici. So he was born in Florence, Italy in 1850 and died 1888, sorry. So the Princess Theatre in Melbourne opened its doors in 1854, and it's been a very famous home in Melbourne. Lots of theaters. I've been to this theater numerous times. Lots of shows come through here. It's a gorgeous theater, so fun. Um, and as we've been saying, many theaters, it has its own ghost. And it is the spirit of the actor Federic Federici. They often just call him Fred, the ghost. And this is actually it's such a good ghost story. I'm so excited. So he's been haunting the theater since his death in 1888. And the one of the articles I read said he's been haunting the theater enthusiastically. And I love that so much because I feel like that's how I'm going to haunt things very enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically, yeah.
Yeah, just like I all the drama. So he came out to Australia in the mid 1800s, 1880s to perform all over the country. And that's how he made his way to Melbourne. And he was in a production of Faust at the Princess Theatre. So the opening night was 3rd of March, 1888, and he was Mephistopheles. Again, too many words for me to pronounce early in the day. Mephistopheles. So at the end of the play, um, Mephistopheles and Faust descend to hell through a trapdoor in the stage. So
Right.
he's going through Federici was going through the trapdoor and he suffered a heart attack. So he was like
Oh,
going down the trapdoor, like slumped over as he was going down, and the stage hands realized when he got down there, like, oh my gosh, he's
he's
not all
not
right.
acting.
He's not acting. This is real. Pulled him out, took him to the dressing room where he was pronounced dead. So he died literally in very dramatic fashion, excellent theatrical timing as his character was going down to hell. However, after the bows, the cast all came backstage and were like, what a great show, da da da. And they're like, Fred's dead. And they're like, what do you mean he was just on stage doing bows with us? So all of the cast and all of the audience were like, yes, he was there. We saw him take his bow. So he died and was like, hold my beer. I still need to take a bow.
Wow. No time.
Yeah.
He didn't even wait to get to those pearly gates. He said, no, I'm haunting straight
No,
away.
show must go on. and he needed to get his flowers. He lived for the applause and died for the applause. Um, really, it's so I love that. I absolutely love that. But he's very much a benevolent presence, Fred. He just can be seen like taking his bows or wandering around in the theater. And there is a little bistro next to the theater called Federici's. So when you go to the Princess Theater, you can actually go to this bistro called Federici's. He's very revered. It's very like it's a really nice time. Everybody's a big fan of Fred. So he doesn't do anything dramatic. He's not trying to kill anybody, but whether or not you believe in ghosts, everybody that has worked in that theater has a story or has felt or seen his presence, or it's more considered good luck though. So
Wow.
it's not yeah, not dangerous. And the next one is in Boston, Massachusetts. And this theater is in the Boston University Theater. It opened in 1923. I love how like the people are all back and forth. So there was, the Ghost in Melbourne's Italian. This theater in Boston University was opened in the 1920s by an Australian actor,
Oh,
Henry Jewett. So yeah, it's just everybody in theater gets around and haunts other countries apparently. So when this Australian actor established this theater and established his acting troupe called the Henry Jewett Players, and he kind of like built this theater for them. So within 5 years, the company went bankrupt. The theater became a movie house, and Jewett was inconsolable. This was his dream. This was his troupe of actors, and he was devastated. I should probably have said trigger warning for people dying at the beginning of this because
I
that's
think
when
they're
this was
used to us now, though. I think they know that that's going to come up in our conversation.
very true, very true. So Jewett, inconsolable, he hung himself under the stage.
Oh, Lord.
So under the movie theater stage. And his ghost just kind of lingers even after the Huntington Theater Company took over the theater in the 1980s. He just kind of appears at the back row during rehearsals and just
Ew.
messes around with lighting cues. So lighting might go wrong. It doesn't seem he's also pretty benevolent. He's not going to really do too much other than mess up a lighting cue. But there is also a lady in white who is the ghost of a wardrobe mistress, and she just hangs out in the lounge. So if you go to Massachusetts, the Boston University Theater, you might see a couple ghosts.
Wow. The ghost of the costume mistress, you said?
Yeah.
Her
Yeah.
title was Costume Mistress.
I know,
I
right?
love that.
Or
I bet she's a
wardrobe
fabulous
mistress.
ghost. Wardrobe
Oh yeah.
mistress.
But I don't know, she was probably not as fabulous as the people she dressed. She would be making the costumes. She probably had a lot of calluses on her fingers from
That's
sewing.
probably true. She's probably got like a tape measure around her neck.
Yeah, something. Yeah,
Like
very
some
dramatic.
like pins, like a pincushion in her pocket, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I bet you she is judging. She's hanging out, being like, "Oh my gosh, did you see that costume? Like, who missed a stitch there?" The next one is in China, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. And I am sorry if I cannot pronounce it correctly. The Huguan Higuan Opera House. There's an opera house in Beijing, China, that was opened in 1807. So it's got some history. And it's part of a complex of traditional buildings, and it's like red, and it was this opera house, and it's now a museum. But it's still like it's a museum and opera house. So
Right.
it's one of the main performance sites of the famous Beijing Opera. And during World War II, a philanthropist built housing for the poor right near the theater. And according to lore, he took down an ancient burial ground in the process. So just
Oh.
like plowed through some graves. And now you will just hear like disembodied screaming and wailing throughout the courtyard of the theater. And if you throw a stone, I don't know why you would throw a stone while standing in the theater, but if you did, you'll hear a ghostly voice shout at you to cut it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what it didn't say is what language it shouts at you in, because you would think Chinese. But if I'm
Mandarin.
throwing a stone, does it shout in English at me so I know as I understand?
No, I
So
don't
I
think
just hear
so.
random Chinese shouting.
Yes, probably. You know what? Yeah, I think so. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
I'm glad we figured that out.
three. That's three
It's three.
theaters.
Three theaters. The next one is the Ford Center for the Performing Arts in Chicago, Illinois. This was opened in 1903, but the current building was built in 1926. A lot of theater buildings have burnt down, opened again. A lot of it's to do with they used to be candlelit, and
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
the like stage curtains and costumes were really flammable in the back in the day. So if they were lit by candles and things were flammable, everything would just catch on fire
Yeah, for
and
sure.
burn to the ground. So just as the Titanic was declared unsinkable, Chicago's Iroquois Theater was advertised as absolutely fireproof, which was a terrible plan. Why would you do that? Why would you say it's something like that? It's just
Don't
inviting
make
disaster.
false promises. Yeah, like the Titanic.
Mm-mm.
Don't say it's unsinkable. No, nothing's unsinkable.
Don't do it. And it's not fireproof. And unfortunately, it had this theater experience the deadliest theater fire in American history a month after the theater opened.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, it was during a sold out performance of Mr. Bluebeard, more than 600 people perished in
What?
this fire in the theater.
What? How did they not get out?
I've I could do a deep dive on that one. I didn't go into like hugely in depth to every story. I have heard about this one before, and I think there was something like the doors got locked because they used to lock close the doors,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
everybody inside the theater burned alive. Instead of which is why the ushers open
Wow.
doors now and guard them, or why they don't put locks on them. I don't know why you would put locks on them. But the Iroquois Theater was eventually torn down, and the Oriental Theater was built on the same site, which is what it's called now. But the spirits of the dead still remain. You see apparitions in the alley behind the theater because they stacked bodies in this alley as they were trying to get everybody out. So now
Yikes.
that alley is just nicknamed Death Alley.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Death
So
Alley.
Death Alley. The next one we have is the New Amsterdam Theater in New York, which opened in 1903. And this Olive Thomas often haunts this theater, and she was kind of a famous Ziegfeld Follies girl, and she came to Manhattan when she was 16 and won the title of most beautiful girl in New York City. I don't know how many people were in that contest, but she won it
Wow. I
at
mean, listen,
16.
what a title. What was
Right?
it? Prettiest girl?
Most beautiful girl in New York City.
Most beautiful
How would
girl
that
in New
fit on
York
a
City.
sash? That was too long for a sash.
Well, she
Would
didn't
you
need a
wear it?
sash because everyone's just looking at her face.
Just like, wow, you're incredibly beautiful.
You just know she's that
She,
beautiful. You just know when you look at her. She's the
you
most
just know
beautiful girl in
that.
New York City. What year was this?
This was what year was this? She died in 1920, so it was probably
Oh
1915,
Lord.
1916.
Yeah.
Um, so she became a member of the legendary Ziegfeld Follies. She died in 1920 at 25 after swallowing mercury pills. But after her death, she was spotted backstage at the New Amsterdam Theater in her full Follies regalia and carrying her bottle of pills.
Oh wow.
So
She kept those pills with her.
she kept those pills with her. And theater employee, oh,
I
why
did
is there a
not do
thumbs?
anything there. That
Zoom
means there's
Zoom
a
doesn't like that.
ghost. That's a ghost
Zoom is
saying,
haunted.
if there's a
They didn't
ghost
like
with
that.
us right now, make something happen on my screen. Okay,
Okay.
there's no ghost with
The,
us.
the ghost isn't hiding. Um, yeah, so now she's often spotted in the theater, almost exclusively by men, but all the theater employees still say good night and good morning to her portrait hanging backstage as a little bit of superstition. We're headed back to your neck of the woods for the most haunted theater in the world,
Oh.
allegedly,
Mm-hmm.
the Theatre Royale on Drury Lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
In
it?
London.
Yeah. Have you been to it?
No, I haven't, but I think it's known to be very haunted though.
Yes, yes, it has. It has been haunted. It is haunted. It was opened in 1663. It's like a minute ago. The current building has been standing since 1812.
Wow.
And yeah, wild, right? So there has been a theater, like I said, on that site since 1663, and that makes it the oldest continually operating theater in London. And it has racked up its fair share of ghosts in that time. The most famous is the Man in Grey. He's an 18th century gentleman in like a fancy hat, and his apparition can be seen up in the balcony, the upper box, by actors, audience members, stagehands. Everybody kind of sees him there, just like supervising. And apparently, he's good luck. So if you see him before a show, that's excellent news.
Do you know
He
who
brings
else
you
lived
luck.
on Drury Lane?
And the the Muffin Man.
Damn it, yeah, the Muffin Man. Anyway,
Do you
continue.
think the Muffin Man, also haunts the theater?
Yeah, the haunted baker,
Yes, yes.
the haunted bakery.
So the haunted bakery, the current theater was built in 1912, and that's actually the fourth building that has been built on that site. And it just, like so many theaters, again, gas lights, candles, they keep burning down. So if you go into the like bowels of the theater, you can see like random human bones from many
Oh
of the
God.
accidents that have, yeah, some bones that have been
Listen,
found during restoration and stuff.
we keep blaming like candles and stuff, but also back then when all these fires happened, people loved to smoke cigarettes and cigars
Oh yeah.
and pipes. I'm sure there was a lot of people that just, you know, flicked their ciggy, not thinking about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it hit a gas light, and then poof, like you just, you're right.
Hmm.
So many careless people. Um, I've got I've got four more. There's so
Ooh.
many. There's so many. So I also wanted to find one in California, since that's
Oh
where you are
yeah.
currently. So the Palace Theater opened in 1911. And it began as a vaudeville house, and then
Hmm.
had a second life as a movie theater. And it's still the oldest movie theater in LA. The
And you know,
marquee.
fun fact about
Yeah.
that
Wow.
is the Carnival Fascination was Hollywood themed when it was first built and designed, and the theater on there was called the Palace Theater after the Palace Theater in LA. There you go.
Oh,
Another little connection to
wow.
the Palace Theater there, Erica.
I didn't know that. That's genius. Thank you. What
No.
a fun tidbit. It was very famously the backdrop for Michael Jackson's Thriller. Um, and its upper balcony was built to seat African American audience members during the days of segregation. So it has a separate entrance, but that entrance has been closed to the public for years. Obviously, we're not
Good.
segregated anymore, but they used to have separate entrances.
Wow.
However, it hasn't stopped mysterious figures from materializing there. So sometimes you'll see ghosts come through that door and walk across the stage or walk through the theater.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it,
Yeah,
baby.
I also believe. And I had to head over to France because, they're haunted over there.
Yeah.
And the Palais Garnier opened in 1875. If you think about like theatrical hauntings, a lot of people will think of the Phantom of the Opera. And interestingly, so this was it is based on Gaston Leroux's 1910 novel, but there really is an underground lake water tank kind of a thing beneath
Yes.
the Paris Opera, the Palais Garnier. There's a big water tank down there, and that chandelier in that theater really did fall in 1896, killing a construction worker. So interestingly, those, I think, perhaps Gaston Leroux put those into his story, but they're also, depending on who you talk to, might have been a semi-deformed fellow named Eric who helped build the opera house and then lived in a secret apartment underneath.
Ooh.
And while his skeleton was never found, something else from Leroux's novel was a collection of phonographic recordings of some of the Paris Opera's most famous singers was found in the cellars in 2007. So really, that theater's really tied into the Phantom of the Opera and has a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
like truth in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
just saw something appear on your screen. Did you see that?
No,
It was like
what?
a flicker on the ghost. The ghost made it flicker. There was like a weird.
Oh no, there's a fly in here.
Oh.
It's been driving me crazy.
Okay, never mind. It's not haunted. It's a fly. All right. We're going to do a New Zealand one. The St. James Theatre, which opened in 1912 and has a long history of presenting lots of different culture, operas, ballets, movies, and it has some supernatural phenomena attached to it. There is a friendly ghost named Yuri, who is a Russian dancer who fell to his death on stage.
It's a very Russian
Yikes.
name, isn't it? Yuri.
Yeah, I'm very Russian. And apparently is responsible for some strange electrical occurrences and twice saved the life of one of St. James's projectionists. So he messes around with the lights. Again, they love doing that. They love to mess around with the projections. Um, there is a less benevolent wailing woman who is the spirit of a failed actress who just weeps in the dressing room. And if anything unfortunate happens to a female actor in the theater, they blame the wailing woman. So there's a happy ghost
Always
and a
blaming the wailing
sad
women.
ghost. You know, it is. It's we're always so put upon.
You
Um,
know.
and then I wanted to should we talk about the curse of Macbeth?
Go for it. Do
All
it.
right, let's do it. So while lots of theaters are haunted, um, every and theater people will know that there is in fact a haunted play. Um, Now I can say Macbeth because I'm not in a theater, but
Yeah.
it is incredible bad luck to say the name of the play in a theater when it's not being performed. Obviously, when you're performing it, you need to say the name. However, if you're in a theater and you are not performing it, you do not say the name. You'll hear people just call it the Scottish play. You know, they have a lot of references
Yeah.
to it. It's very, very bad luck. Um, the Where it's kind of set in 16th century Scotland was really notorious for witch hunts, mostly because King James the Sixth of Scotland, he was really obsessed with witchcraft, possibly because his mother Mary Queen of Scots was executed in 1587, and really I think they say it inspired his fascination with dark magic because it was
Oh
a really
wow.
dramatic execution. Yeah. And in 1589, when James was sailing back to Scotland from Denmark with his new wife, their ship encountered violent storms at sea and they were almost drowned. In this incident, the king blamed the evil spells of witches for conjuring the storm. And once he returned to Scotland, he ordered a huge witch hunt, because to find the witches that had cursed him with this terrible weather, and he wrote a treaty on witchcraft to further inspire persecution against witches, and that was called demonology. So he was really obsessed.
Yeah, sounds like
And
it.
yeah, right. When he became King James the First of England in 1603, his new subjects were really keen to like appease him and join in with his views on the demonic. So lots of things were published about witchcraft in those days. So Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe was published in 1604, and just a huge like portrayal of witchcraft and like really like shocking portrayal of witches, and association with like dark evil and things, which is then followed by Shakespeare's Macbeth. Macbeth? Who am I? McDonald's? Macbeth in 1606. And there's actually some direct references to James's troubles at sea, in this line, through though his bark cannot be lost, yet shall be tempest tossed. Yes.
Yes, very
So
Shakespearean Easter
very,
egg there.
yes, exactly right. Um, so moral of the story is this whole time period was really witchy, really fixated on the dark arts and dark magic, which is where Macbeth kind of came from. So, according to the folklore, first of all, actually, when Shakespeare was writing Macbeth, he did a lot of research out to the Weird Sisters, and their chants are apparently real spells. The ingredients of fenny snake, eye of newt, toe of frog supposedly are real witch spells.
Is it a whiskey toe? No.
No, it's not a whiskey toe.
Toe of
No,
frog.
toe of frog. According to folklore, Macbeth was cursed from the beginning. A coven of witches objected to Shakespeare using real incantations, so they put a curse on the play. And apparently, the first performance in 1606 was riddled with disaster. The actor playing Lady Macbeth died suddenly, so Shakespeare himself had to take on the role of Lady Macbeth. Other rumored mishaps include real daggers being used in place of stage props for the murder of King Duncan, resulting in that actor's death as well. And the play hasn't had much luck since. There was a famous Astor Place riot in New York in 1849 caused by a rivalry between American actor Edwin Forrest and English actor William Charles Macready, resulted in 20 deaths and over 100 injuries. Um, both both actors were playing Macbeth in opposing productions. So they were two productions like going head to head of Macbeth, and because of this, there was a riot and a bunch of
Wow.
people died.
Theater folk, man. Dangerous people. Crazy.
Dangerous. Other productions have been plagued with accidents, including actors falling off the stage, mysterious deaths, narrow misses by the falling stage weights, like a classic horror movie trope, stage weights falling on the stage. And just consistently. Laurence Olivier actually almost got hit by stage weights at the Old Vic in 1937.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And it usually Macbeth is another reason it's seen unlucky by theater companies is that they because it's such a like expensive play to stage, in it's guaranteed an income because it's so popular. So if you put it on, you're guaranteed to sell out. So if you're putting it on, the lore is that the theater is in financial trouble because they need a big blockbuster. So
Got it.
yeah, if you're suddenly announcing that you are putting on Macbeth, they're like, you must be struggling. But also because it's such a high production cost to stage, it could bankrupt a theater. So lots of reasons that it, yeah. So it's people think it's cursed in that way as well.
Yeah.
So, do you know how to avoid catastrophe if you accidentally say Macbeth in a theater that
Yes. So you have to like, isn't it something really silly? Like you have to spin around 3 times or something silly or say something?
yeah, you spin around 3 times, you spit, curse, and then knock on the theater door to be allowed back in.
Wow. There you go. I
Yeah.
remember this is true story on a ship. And this was a very dramatic cast member that we worked with, was known for just being like, there was always either something wrong and there's always drama. And someone said Macbeth backstage, and this performer was like, I'm not doing the shows tonight. That's ridiculous because I guess during that they were like, "Don't say that back here; it's dangerous." And this person was like, "Whatever, that's not real, Macbeth," and just said it like a bunch of times just to kind of piss this person off. And this person got really upset
Yeah.
and ended up having to do the shows because they were like, "You are here to put your pet to the shows. That's not real. It's a
Yeah.
superstition. That
Yeah.
doesn't warrant going and sitting in your cabin for the rest of the night. Absolutely fucking not. You're
No.
gonna do the shows." But I
Yeah.
remember genuine upset. I remember yelling, and I remember people take it seriously. I mean, this person was
People
pretty
really
dramatic
do.
anyway, but you know what? I'm not judging. We listen, but we don't
No,
judge.
we listen, but we don't judge. And that really seamlessly takes me into like why are so many theaters haunted and why all of this? And perhaps, there is an explanation as to why there's so many, superstitions and so many, sites of things. Acting is a perilous profession in like almost every sense. If you
Yeah,
forget a line or a cue, you can ruin a show.
yeah,
In some cases, a career. You can. It's smaller things have ruined a career. Just as something, as like boring and everyday as a misbehaving prop, like a phone on stage that doesn't ring or won't stop ringing, can like really ruin the illusion and ruin the magic that you're trying to create on stage.
yeah,
And there's so many like you're spending your time spending your time manifesting the darkest of psyches. Sometimes you're dying on stage, you're pulling up all of these emotions, and it can really get into your psyche. And also just the nature of acting is very precarious. You're going
yeah.
on auditions, you're not getting jobs, you don't know when your next job is going to be, you're living show to show in a very precarious manner. um and when 800 people in the audience, 1,000 people, however many it is, are like watching you keenly and watching every movement, or you might have a producer that could just shut down the show at any moment, like you know there's a lot of faith being tested as an actor. And
Yes.
that's probably why there's such superstitious people,
Yeah.
And I would also have, I think humans are superstitious as it is. We constantly look for things to validate what we believe and patterns and things and try to find patterns where they're not just because of how our brains work. So it's no wonder that theaters are such superstitious places.
Yes. Also, theatre folk, we love to tell a story, right?
Yeah, literally that's it. That's your entire career is storytelling.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I love it.
Also, theatre is
What
one
do
of
you
the
think?
oldest art forms, so it makes sense that hauntings would happen in theatres because lots of people have died in
Yeah,
theatres. Yeah.
lots of people have died in theaters. And what a better place to haunt? Like, if you are an accountant and you die, are you gonna go and haunt the accounting
Boring.
office?
Oh
Yeah,
God.
boring.
Actually, we have some really fun accountants that I work with. So, but yeah, bored. Counting numbers
I'm
for the
not
rest of
saying
your life?
accounting
No.
accountants are fun.
Their
Accountants can be
offices
fun.
are boring
Accounting,
though.
yeah, no. But how fun is a theater if that's your
Yeah.
workplace? Yeah,
Yeah.
like so. Yeah, that is. Those are all the things. I did have one more theater, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting. There's so many theaters. There's so many theaters.
I'm so excited to read more about haunted theaters. I'm excited to watch some videos. There's a lot of videos on YouTube and TV shows where they go for paranormal investigators go to theaters a lot. I
Mm,
do enjoy watching those. I think as well because there's so much liminal space in a theater. When a theater is empty, it's already spooky, right?
yeah.
Like when you're looking out into this huge room stories, empty seats are already scary. Like there's nothing
Oh
scarier
yeah.
than empty theater seats in the dark. Just that's already a scary scene right there, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why theaters are used in a lot of horror films.
Yeah.
There's one really good film. Oh God, what is it called? It's about a bunch of puppets and a puppet master. There's a whole. I'll have to find it and send it to you, but
Oh,
and it's like a
I've
theater on a
seen a couple of
lake.
those. Oh, yeah, yeah. Something nine. Is it?
I
I've
can't
definitely. I
remember.
know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I need to. I can see it. I can see it in my head. I can see the puppet.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for teaching us some more about haunted theaters. I'm excited to learn more about it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. And friends, if you're upset that I didn't talk about your theater, put it in the comments. Let me know. We'll do another one. Like I say, there's
Yeah.
so many theaters that are haunted, and I'd love to talk about each and every ghost.
Tell us about your haunted theater stories, folks.
Yeah, do it. And you can tell us all about your haunted theaters by emailing us at macabre@gmail.com. You can send us a DM on Instagram or TikTok at Macabre and Company. You can join us on the Patreon at Macabre and Company. And above all, always stay
Stay
spooky.
spooky.
Yes. Stay spooky, friends.
Bye, friends.
Bye.